Добрий день, з вами
Hello, this is Olga Tamanova. I'm happy to greet you here today. Whoever's joined us at Ukrinform today. Hello, everyone who's offline and online. It's been the 10th year of the war. This is 966th day since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, and the first event will be dedicated to the fourth part of the educational project Dialogue About the War. For those who missed the first three, this is a educational project that consists of 4 videos in the format of a conversation between a student and war veterans of the Russian-Ukrainian war. And it is accompanied by methodological recommendations for teachers on how to use the videos in the educational space. This is the 4th part, and I'm going to present you the speakers. We have Oleksandr Makobriy, Deputy Head of the Informational Security Policy, Ministry of Culture, Information and Policy of Ukraine, Maksym Udovychenko, Head of the State Enterprise Information Space Protection Center of Ukraine. We also have Oleksandr Driz, General Producer of the project. We have Volodymyr Zhemchugov, a hero of Ukraine, the project manager, and Hanna Baikenych, head of the methodological work sector at the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory. She's also a project coordinator. Hello, everyone. Alexander, the floor is yours. Tell us, please, about the project and about this particular part, 4th part, why it's relevant today. Thank you very much for the floor. On behalf of the Ministry of Culture, Information and Policy, I would like to greet you here and express my appreciation for your participation. And with greater pleasure, I would like to express my thanks to our defense forces for being able to participate in events like that. I would like to start with saying that the war has probably started not on the 24th February last year. It started back in 2014. If we take the informational component, I think it never stopped since we became independent. And it's quite important to achieve victory. And the ultimate question is, when do we achieve that victory? And this is a matter of time and the price we have to pay for that. When we're going to get to the 1991 borders. Until we do that, the enemy will be there anyway, and I'm sure that they won't stop trying to invade our country. I'm not even talking about the informational component. It will always be there. And to my opinion, in that sense, young people are the main driver of our future. Of course, that's a quite important project, and it's focused on young people. And youth is the treasure of our country, it's our future. This is why the project is focusing on making sure that young people understand what the war is, who's the enemy, and what kind of future we have. Shaping of their national patriotic component, of their conscience. It's also very important that beside visual component, our heroes, people like Volodymyr Zhemchugov, they can become people that do that educational work, and I'm thankful for his effort. We're going to support projects like that. And I'd like to say that, you know, the Soviet and the Russian narrative is about dying for your country. And I think we have to live for our country, because young people is our future. And the implementation of the project gives us a possibility to hope for a better future and for a victory. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Maksym, the question is to you. We understand that the informational war goes on. And it's not just a war for our country and the international community, it's a war for our teenagers. So how involving war heroes help in that sense? We're presenting the fourth part of the project, Dialects about the War. And I hope that next year we're going to continue that project, because this year's experience shows that the presentations that we had in different educational institutions all over Ukraine shows that children emotionally respond to that information, and lots of school children approached Volodymyr with additional questions. So I really hope that soon, together with the Ministry of Education, we are going to include the project, incorporate it in the educational program, into the curriculum, so that all children can access that information, because it's very relevant and very useful. Okay, Volodymyr, I suggest that you give us a little bit of a context for the project, and then you can present the project itself. Well, I will just talk about the idea, how the project was conceived. So first we did the first episode of it. It's not just a video, it's a methodological material for teachers. When I started doing that project in the Ministry of Informational Policy, we had traveled all over Ukraine and visited different institutes before the full-scale invasion, and I talked to people in charge of school curriculum, and they said, I'm sorry, we don't have methodological materials. We don't have any resources. We are basically Google things, and we just, sometimes we download maps, and sometimes it's the wrong map without Crimea. If we download some photos about the anti-terrorist operation, sometimes it's just footage from the Chechen war. And we don't have approved content. We don't have approved text information. And there were multiple reasons for not working with children, not teaching them about the war. So this is why I approached the people in charge of the curriculum to make sure that they have access to these approved resources, so that teachers can't find any excuses not to do that. But here's 2022, and this is what we've experienced. On recently occupied territories in Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Lugansk, Donetsk Oblast, sometimes local teachers would join the enemy, and they would participate in Russian propaganda. They traveled to Russia to get methodological materials from the Russian Ministry of Fake Education. And they happily participate in that. So it's important to incorporate the latest events into that curriculum. Information about the full-scale invasion. Now we are negotiating with the Ministry of Informational Policy to run media literacy training as part of an all Ukrainian lesson. Since we had a positive feedback, we would like to use that opportunity, and next year, when we complete the set of methodological resources, we can incorporate that project with the Ministry of Education online. So we can run a series of all Ukrainian lessons, national lessons for teachers to make sure they get enough content and to help them create their own lessons, interesting lessons. It's not about watching a video. These are series of how-to videos on how to create a nice, interesting lesson, interactive lesson to captivate the minds of school children, because it's going to affect them and it will stay in their memory. That's the main goal, and we know that the war will go on. This is why we need to prepare children for defending of their country. And we have to work on that since early years, not when the people are already adult. What age section do you focus on to make sure that children can do that these trainings and these series of lessons? Well, we've talked to the Ministry of Educational. It's 5 to 11 years of school. 5th to 11th year. So, okay, can you please run the video? Dialects about the war. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Thank you for protecting our country. Well, I have to thank these guys who laid their lives for the country. Have you known any of these people? You know, these 3 warriors that died early in 2015. They were part of Azov regiment, but actually I'm here for them. But I see lots of familiar faces. Battle Force Zelenopilia 2015, Shirokino operation in February. There was a war back then, yes. It started back in February when Muscovites captured Crimea, then they captured Luhansk and Donetsk Oblast. We've joined the army. Some people were volunteers. Did you join the army then? I joined the army in 2022, 24th of February. This is where I joined the army. And my son-in-law and my son joined the army as well. Those who joined the army back then, they didn't do that just to protect their families. They let others prepare for the full-scale invasion. You mentioned the big war. What is that? You see, in 2014, when the Muscovites invaded Ukraine, some Ukrainians joined the army as volunteers. They stopped the enemy. They could even liberate some of the lands. Some people were volunteers, and then it happened that after a year or two, the war became frozen. It shrunk. And most people decided that there is no war. It's somewhere far from their homes, and they don't care. But on 24th of February, every Ukrainian felt what war is like. Missile hits, destroyed buildings, villages, cities. So, can you hear the air alerts? And you probably go to shelters and you hide from the hits. That happens all over the country. And Russia made sure that the war reaches every city. This is what the full-scale invasion is. This is what the big war is. Alexander, you are a project producer, so I can't help but ask you, how did you film the project and how did you look for heroes? Who became heroes? Well, that's true. I did first 3 series and this one as well. And the team, the crew that worked on the project, these are people who had some experience. And as far as heroes are concerned, I would like to ask Hanna Baikenych. She was looking for heroes, and my job was to create it in a form of a TV format, or a format of short videos for schools. I've been in education for some time. I did educational movies and videos, especially dedicated to war. And when I was a military major, I created a military TV, and now they are developing pretty actively. But then I retired from the army because I could feel that there was a conflict between General Presepko, God rest his soul, and he supported Yanukovych back then. Lots of people quit the army because they couldn't see there was any development. I did that too, and I quit doing things for the military, but then the war started and I got back. And first we worked with the state cinema agency, then with the Ministry of Culture we created a patriotic cinema competition. So we did some movies and then we worked on this patriotic project. And this is why I think that's quite important, and we're ready to work on that in different forms. So I would like to give the floor to Hanna because she can tell you more about the heroes. Thanks a lot for the floor. Hello, everyone. Dear listeners and viewers, well, and thanks a lot to the Armed Forces of Ukraine for giving us the possibility to be here and for giving us the possibility to continue with the project with our partners that we're talking about. And of course, a bit on what we're presenting. This is the 4th video that is a part of a larger project, Dialogues About the War. So just a reminder, the first 3 videos also, they're dedicated to different topics. Well, first, what the war is about. Number 2, why Russia tries to invade Ukrainian land. Just some retrospective videos. and also a third video about the start of the invasion back in 2014. And then we came up with an idea for the fourth movie, and we couldn't help but talk about the full-scale invasion in 2022. The way it all started, it actually continued. And I thought it happened by chance, but it was on purpose, and we met with Oleksandr, and we started talking about the continuation of the project, but because in the Institute of the National Memory, we already had some ideas about the fourth video, and we wanted to create some footage, write down some recommendations, but we didn't have any funding for that. And then we met with Volodymyr. We started working with him, and he supported us. He supported the center and the Ministry of Culture, Informational Policy, and then the work started. And together with Elena Krimchuk, I wrote the script. And when the script was ready, it was verified, amended by Vadim, our actor, codename Arnaud, the one that you saw in the video. And this is how we improved the project. People asked questions like, were these questions are asked by the girl? Were they the questions generated by school children? Actually, that was not the case. We didn't have enough time to test the scenario, the script on kids. But when the script was ready, we engaged high school children in reading, in QA, and they said, yeah, we actually thought about that too. The actors, the girl, Ola Hitsko, who was featured in the previous videos, she was in the fifth form back then. Now she's in the 9th form. And actor is Vadim, codename Arnaud. And a big thanks to both of them for participating in that video. These are not professional actors. These are ordinary people, an ordinary schoolgirl, and actual soldier who's defending us all during this horrible war. Because we think that they may not be professionals, but if we talk about that with people who never held any weapons, that would be not fair. So hopefully we did it, and we could convey the message. And the message was about giving some facts and knowledge, but not just that. We wanted to tell them more about what's going on in Ukraine, because we're not just witnesses, we are participants of these historical events. This is our life, and sometimes even adults fail to understand what's going on. This is why we wanted to give children emotions, but not the emotion of defeat, not some sort of destructive emotion, but an emotion of victory, something that will motivate children to join our common victory. Because as Vadim says at the end of the video, and by the way, the video was already uploaded on the official channel of the Institute of the National Memory. So she asked when we're going to win, and he said, we will win when everybody will join their efforts 24/7. So big thanks to everyone who participated in the creation of that video, and we're ready to continue our cooperation. Thanks a lot. And the question is, how are you going to disseminate that information? How are you going to spread that project? Well, since I already have a mic, I can say that the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory, we already have it on our official YouTube channel. It's been published, but this is a complex educational project. This is why we're going to keep cooperating with the Ministry of Education, and without their participation, it's impossible to disseminate that information in every school. But on our side, we will do our best to spread the word. And since the beginning of the project, when we started creating videos in 2019, together with our projects, with our colleagues, we've been promoting dialogues about the war in different regions of Ukraine. And as of today, we had more than 30 official events in different parts of the country. So I think it's going to continue like that. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. If you have any questions, please. Hello, Yulia Gadina, Ukrinform. Actually, I have a follow-up question. You mentioned cooperating with the Ministry of Education. Do you plan to work with them to incorporate these videos into the school curriculum? Well, I will speak on my behalf. Maybe Volodymyr will tell you more. The curriculum has been changing a lot. And I'm a representative of the institute that's part of the curriculum working group for the government. And I'm not the representative of the ministry. I'm not sure if how they're going to change the curriculum, but if they're changing the curriculum, we will lobby that idea. I will just add some more. You probably remember I mentioned that initiative in the Ministry of Information and Policy. They already have that experience. They're doing media literacy programs and trainings. So there is also a positive trend. And when in January and February they complete the methodological recommendation for that national lesson, we want to invite the Ministry of Education so that our ministry meets their representatives and we can organize a national lesson for teachers to incorporate that information in the curriculum. In the past, what we did, we would just write letters to the Ministry of Education, and they would write their letters, but as we see, these letters didn't affect the teachers and educational institutions much. They didn't create any modern lessons or series. So using that practice, we would like to work with the Ministry of Education to integrate that into curriculum. Well, that's an endless topic to talk about. What else can motivate teachers to take these materials, not just the dialogues about the war, but any materials about the Russo-Ukrainian war? Well, I'm talking about textbooks. Well, textbooks, it's not that they're not compliant. I mean, it was updated 2 years ago, the curriculum, and for 11th year students, they had some information but it's not in the textbooks for the 11th year. So the challenge is where to find the good materials for 11th year students, and it also motivates teachers surf the web looking for resources from approved sources, and it works, but it doesn't mean in any way that the textbook cannot be amended. I think this year or next year they will have new textbooks for the 11th year students that will include the latest changes. The first 3 videos are out and they've been there for a while. So what about the results? Can you see that teachers have been using the project, and did you have any feedback from the children? Well, that's a question to anyone of you. Well, this year, when the pandemic was over and they gave children the possibility to study online, we continued to doing study visits. We had other projects, like educational projects to counter Russian disinformation about the current war. And we did projects about how the war started. And when we did presentations in schools, in lyceums, I talked to the school staff, asking them, do you know about our project? Have you ever used it? I'd say around 20% of teachers mentioned that they received the letters from the Ministry of Education, and they had links to whatever resources are available on the internet. Also, there were links to the methodological materials, a link to the YouTube channels with these videos, but only 20% of teachers mentioned they have heard something about the project. And when I mentioned that, if they never heard about that, they were interested. So I sent them the letters. So I'm saying that experience in the Ministry of Informational Policy, that's quite a positive experience. We can really work on disseminating that information next year. Thank you very much for that work. And that's a very important work. That process is quite important, and we can see that the aggressor is advancing pretty fast, and we have to do something about that. And we have to protect our children from disinformation that we have in our informational space. And thank you very much for the interest in our topic, and thanks you very much to our defense forces that make it possible. And thank you. Let's continue working for our victory, and glory to Ukraine.